It's time for Mac Break Weekly. Andy, Renee, Alex, they're all here, and there's a big invitation to talk about. The Apple event is coming up in 1 week on 4/20. We'll dissect, as usual, the invitation and talk about the kinds of things we can expect. Alex has a really good point about the new Apple TV you're going to want to listen to, because you may want to upgrade some other hardware as well. And then we'll talk about Apple's iMessages and why it's not on Android. It's all coming up next on Mac Break Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Mac Break Weekly, episode 761. Recorded Tuesday, April 13th, 2021. Butt². Mac Break Weekly is brought to you by ExpressVPN. If you really want to go incognito and protect your privacy, make yourself as invisible as possible with the #1 rated VPN, the one I use, ExpressVPN. For 3 extra months free with a 1-year package, go to expressvpn.com/MacBreak. And by Hover. Whether you're a developer, photographer, or small business, Hover has something for you to expand your projects and get the visibility you want. Go to hover.com/twit and get 10% off your first purchase of any domain extension for the entire first year. Time for Mac Break Weekly, the show we cover the latest news from Apple. And there is news from Apple this week. Rene Ritchie is here. He could be called away at any moment. Have to fly to, where would you fly to these days if you had to get a
nowhere.
briefing?
We're still on lockdown. The border is still closed.
Can't go
We're
anywhere.
not getting shots until end of June, and I think we're better off than Australia. Please live for us, Leo. Live for us.
I shall tell your stories,
I'm getting my second shot tomorrow, which means, and then I'm
So
coming
jealous
into
and
work.
happy.
So you can watch me slowly turn green. It'll be great.
Which one are you getting, Leo?
I got Moderna number for the first one and Moderna for the second.
That's apparently the good one. That's like
I'm
the
worried
vintage that you want.
because J&J, Johnson & Johnson's been pulled off the market. That's what John got. That's what Jason Howell got.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of our team got. That's Andy Anatko. Did you get the shot yet, Andrew?
I got shot #1 last week, Team
Woo!
Pfizer.
Woo!
So I'll be in 3 weeks' time. We'll be able to go back to licking door handles and
So exciting.
not boiling, but not having my takeout food have to wait outside for 24 hours to make sure that whatever virus is on there.
It's kind of funny because, Renee, it is like Pokemon. Team Moderna.
Yes.
Team
no.
Pfizer. Team J&J. Oh.
I'll be wearing a mask until
there's a-
2025. See you guys soon.
There was a great video, a great sketch on the Late Show with Seth Meyers, or excuse me, the Late Night with Seth Meyers. That was like about all the different vaccines, like in the waiting room being interviewed for auditioning for being like and all of them were like, "Oh, get out of here with your 65%. Come on."
Yeah.
But
And that, my goodness, is Alex Lindsay, Office Hours, of Office Hours fame from 090 Media, 090.media. Hello, Alex.
Good. We're slowly moving into cooking as well. So we've added that to Office Hours. So, it wasn't
So what
enough
is
that-
the
Office Hours right
portfolio? The portfolio is, first it was like how to make video, how to make audio, how to do production. Then it changed a little bit. You started doing music. Then it changed a little bit more. You started to do Raspberry Pis. Then it changed a little bit more. Now you're doing cooking?
So on Saturday we started with a discussion about education. Then we did an hour and a half of Unreal Engine development, and then we switched and cooked corn fritters, and then we built another Raspberry Pi. So that was about
pivoted to fritters.
Show that.
Yeah, I
has it all.
had a friend that saw it. I told him he should go check out the Raspberry Pi thing, and he checked it out, and he goes, 9 hours. You guys went for 9 hours, and I said, yeah.
That was a short episode.
That was just the show. It didn't include the pre-show or the pre-show or the
They used to
post-show.
call Walter Cronkite Old Iron Butt because he could sit through a Apollo hold for hours and fill with they didn't have CGI or anything. He had a model of the Apollo. There you see the inside. You're Iron Butt squared.
The funny thing is it's just such a great group to hang out with. So we just have a lot of fun. And the experiment really is just how to learn together. And because we have all this gear, because we have all this hardware, we're able to. I mean, it was multi-camera cooking from everybody's kitchen. So there's like 15 people with 2 or 3 cameras each that are all like cutting to close-ups in our our cook that was guiding us along, Damayanti Gajar from South Africa, is she's walking us through one of her recipes, and we're all making it together and showing it to each other and asking questions, and it was remarkably fun. It was a really fun way to learn how to cook. I think there's something missing in the fast, not just TikTok, but in the fast one, anything on TV where it's all just kind of pre-done. There's something about just doing it and discussing it that is it's really powerful. But it would be hard to do without a whole bunch of people that already have all the tech, because it would be bad audio and bad cameras and bad lighting. And in this case, like, we have lighting rigs, and we have wireless mics and headsets and all kinds of stuff to tie in. So it's a really interesting kind of, I think, glimpse of the future.
By the way, it was a different era. They didn't call them iron butt; they called them iron pants.
Oh, there you go.
Because you can't say butt. All right. Let's talk about the invite. Did you get it?
Yep. No one sent me an invite.
Nobody sent me an invite either. Actually, I don't know.
Well, you were on office hours. How do you know? You haven't checked mail yet?
Got to check your mail, man. Got to check your mail. So tell us, Renee, because obviously they invited you. What are we talking here? First, it started, by the way, with Siri. Wait a minute.
Yes.
Have you tried this?
Yes.
Have you tried? So what do I ask her?
So they had to break it so that people wouldn't see it early, and now it hasn't been fixed on time. So it may not answer, but you just ask when the next Apple event is.
When is the next Apple event? She's thinking. Now it says, but it didn't say it out loud. The special event is Tuesday, April 20th at Apple Park.
Yeah, it does the affordance. So if you use the command word, it'll say it out loud. But if you hold down the button,
oh, that's right. It thinks I'm. Okay, so let me. I can do this. Muting my mic here. Wait a minute. When is the Apple event?
The special event is on Tuesday, the 20th of April, at Apple Park in Cupertino, California.
Nice.
You can get all the details on apple.com.
Thank you, Siri.
Yeah, man, I love the accent to use for Siri.
You notice I'm using the South African one.
Yeah.
Yes, man.
If I worked on that team, I would be embarrassed that my team had screwed that up, but also saying, okay, we got to come up with something funny for Siri to say whenever, like, someone asks her about the Apple event. So, I got in trouble the last time I answered that question.
I'm sure.
But,
Siri has a team of writers. I'm sure they're working on it right now.
But it happens, and it's famous. Like, developers famously have just said, release it on this day, not thinking that it's going to go live at 12:01 a.m. Australia time.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to set a day and a time. You have to make sure it's a.m. or p.m. There's so many things can go wrong when you. That's why I never upload and set a timer. I always do everything manually.
Right.
You get so paranoid after a while about embargoes.
The last Apple invitation I got was November 2nd, 2020. So I guess I'm off the list.
It's not really, because it's a virtual event. It's not like they just send out emails to people on their list. But like, it's on apple.com.
So was it's October and November's. In other words, I was getting them, but not anymore. So that's okay.
Unless it's in junk.
So if I go to Apple.com, it could be in junk mail. It could be.
Don't let them get in your head, Leo. Don't let them get inside your head.
They're getting in my head.
Don't let them live rent free.
They're getting in my head. Where would I see this? Is it scroll down?
Just scroll down on the
Apple
homepage. Yeah,
Apple
it'll
here,
be on
Academy Award nominee. No, Apple event
under that.
Oh,
there it is.
What is that Apple? That is interesting. What is that?
Yeah,
I think that's the first hint. If you look at the worlds, it actually spells out OLE. So I think they're going to be ditching OpenDoc for Microsoft's object linking and embedding. So everybody who's using CyberDog, you might have to find a new platform.
So what, Renee?
I thought it was V for Apple for iPad Pro 5. But, I'm reading into the tea leaves too much here.
It looks like the first two letters of Leo. I'm gonna say, but okay. What is the text on the invite? Because on the page it doesn't have any text. It says what is spring?
Oh, so this one is spring loaded.
Spring loaded. I get it. It's a spring. And this is spring?
2015 was spring forward, and so now 2021 has to be spring loaded because the event's going to be loaded, Leo.
Does that so that's the question, I guess. That's the only word we can parse.
Or you have to be loaded to afford this stuff at the event. Either way.
What? So that sounds like maybe they're going to announce a lot of things.
Clear the deck before Dub.
Yeah.
So I've been, Mike, I guess conventional wisdom is this will be this Tuesday. By the way, 10 a.m. Pacific, we will be here covering it and then go right into Mac Break Weekly afterwards. If they keep to an hour, it'll be perfect. My guess is that it's going to be iPad, that new iPad Pro with the mini LED screen. It's going to be AirTags, maybe, and a big question mark, maybe an Apple TV. Anything? There was a rumor, maybe a new mini Apple iPad Mini, but no Macs, right? What do you think?
It could be. There could be Macs. I mean, it's so confusing because a lot of people assumed AirTags finally because they've been rumored since early 2019. But then Apple announced the Find My network with those accessories, one of which is basically an AirTag. You know, they basically had an AirTag and a pair of AirPods at that event. And people were anticipating AirTags and AirPods at this event. So I think the iPad Pro is as close to a sure thing as we have. A lot of people want the updated Apple TV because we've been waiting a long time for that. And then AirPods 3 and AirTags are on deck. And some of the Macs maybe because, you know, we've been waiting on the higher end, less power efficient, more
this
powerful.
This might be the 16-inch MacBook Pro, right? This might be a time to
That's the one I want. I would take that today.
My thinking, my conventional wisdom thinking is that's for June. That's for WWDC. Right?
I think that they're holding off on a major restyling. And remember that there's a rumor that the touch bars is Geschwinkto. So I think that when they really do the first big push of Apple Silicon, they're going to try to do it every time in new styling, new designs to really hammer in the fact that this is something brand new. Remember that when the stuff that came out last year was essentially proof of concept, extremely successful and usable proof of concept, but it was okay to simply say, okay, here's stuff that we've already had the machining for. Now we're going to be putting new chips in there.
Yeah. This is the augmented reality. As always, if you point your phone at the invite, and Jaws posted this. By the way, spring has come to the Apple campus. It is looking a lot prettier than it did when they were building it, right?
Is that a real Apple campus, Alex, or is that a model?
Could be a model, huh?
I think it's real.
So this is the spring.
I think that there's no reason for it not to be real.
The spring is springing, and it turns into an apple. That's not that cool.
I wonder whether the reason that it's there, though, is that whether the pen and the iPad with LiDAR let you interact with in 3D with the world.
That's good speculation.
Would be kind of interesting.
I like that.
That's my speculation.
Yeah.
I'm it's the best I can do.
What about the colors? Maybe it's the colors of the new iMacs. It's the lime and the tangerine and the grape and the blueberry.
It'll be interesting to see if the Apple TV goes anywhere. There's rumors that it'll be 120 hertz.
I'd love
120 frames per second.
I'd love
now, people
that.
talk about that related to the games, but one of the other things to think about is that with a content pipeline that Apple has and with phones that are capable of shooting that, you could push. Apple can probably push 120 faster and harder as a format than anyone else in the world.
You're right. And if everything on Apple TV Plus and everything you bought on iTunes and
it may not be everything. They may leave film at 24, which is
stuff
interestingly
shot,
enough.
How much stuff is shot at 120?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, not nothing, but very, very little. The big advantage is that 120 is really interesting because it's evenly divisible by 24, 30, and 60. So all of our formats that we use right now will fit into it. And one of the things that would be really interesting to see is if you did 120, you may want to be able to, and I don't know whether, you could put a chip, I think, into something like an Apple TV and interpolate the motion blur back from 120 to 24. So theoretically, you could shoot a movie at 120 frames per second and then watch it at 24, and we still have all the same motion blur, still feel like 24 frames a second, but you could turn it off and it could be 120. Now, I think the 120 is way more interesting for things like nature, documentaries, sports. Sports, it gets super interesting. To see that.
Anything with a lot of action is better at a higher frame rate.
That's what the iPad Pro does now. Like the iPad Pro, they call it ProMotion because it's not a fixed 120 hertz. It's dynamic, and it'll go up to 120 hertz for Apple Pencil or for scrolling, and then it'll go to 48 hertz for 24 frames per second movie, and then or 60 hertz for 30 frames per second television, and then down to 24 hertz to conserve power. But I went and watched a bunch of science documentaries on this, and they were using the green diode test to see how fast we can actually see, and they're like, when we get to like 480 hertz, that'll start to approach the human capacity. So it's just until then, it's these incremental steps
we got some headroom
forward to get us closer
that's good
and closer.
To know.
Yeah.
iOS 14.5 will come out
presented.
along with tvOS, iPadOS, and whatever else. And according to 9to5 Mac, the beta code in tvOS 14.5 suggests 120 hertz.
And the thing to look at there, though, is that if Apple actually decided to push that, no one else can do that right now. This gets back into Apple constantly doing things that are really uncomfortable for everybody else. So because they have the entire pipeline from acquisition to playback to all the other things. And again, that's them continually coming back to areas that they can innovate where no one else can easily. And so suddenly if there's a whole bunch, now a lot of people have tried to do high frame rate and it hasn't been successful. So maybe it'll just be, maybe they won't do it, maybe it won't be successful. But if they were successful at it, it means that all of your other stuff is, and you'll notice it, like after you watch 120 frames a second a lot, which I have for weeks on end, and everything just looks framey.
Well, you get used to it. You get used to it. Yeah.
Once you get used to it, 24 looks really framey.
Right.
Well, we saw Disney Plus and TV Plus came out with high frame rate HDR before any of the other streaming services, and it was night and day compared to what Netflix was doing, even at 4K HDR. Yeah. And then everyone had to raise their game, and then they'd have to keep doing that with everything else as part of the image.
And it's going to be a big deal once sports networks, who definitely want to be making money by selling extended packages to consumers, to say that here is football, basketball at 30 frames per second, regular HD. Here it is at 120 frames per second. And I think about all the people, all the times that what a big boost HD was once all the games started being broadcast in high definition. That was the trigger point for a lot of people to finally spend thousands of dollars on panels that weren't quite up to snuff just yet, but the difference, the experience was so much better. This could be something that would be the breakthrough for streaming live sports.
It definitely could be. The challenge really is I don't know of any truck that's built for 120 frames per second. So it would take an entirely new launch forward to get that working. But you could capture footage right now at 120 and play it out. So that gets back into nature style things, and maybe even NFL Films style ideas, although NFL Films really is 2398 most of the time.
Yeah, because
all the time.
It's that beautiful, dreamy thing. It was a cold December day in Lambeau Field when Brent Favre took the, it's not.
But for Vince Lombardi and his Green Bay Packers, there would be another day.
Exactly. So you want that dreamy on some things. In fact, some movies should be dreamy, I think, and 24 is perfect for that. I hope my eyes don't get ruined by 120 and I say, oh, this looks framey. I don't like it anymore.
It wears off. The effect wears off, but it never goes completely away. You can now see the frames all the time. It's hard.
You raise an excellent point, which is that somebody's got it's a catch-22 and somebody's got to start the ball rolling. So aside from movie theaters, which some have that capability, very few. In fact, I think
it's much easier.
It's a handful. It's much easier to do it if you have it. But more and more TV sets have 120. In fact, some very inexpensive TV sets have 120. What do you need?
Static 120 isn't hard. It's the dynamic 120 that's hard.
No. Nobody's going to do dynamic for film. Like They're going to do static. They're going to shoot a frame rate and show it at that frame rate.
A lot of the TVs go up to 240. The issue is
that that's interpolation. That's not.
It is.
Native.
And so when people say, "Oh, it looks very video-y," well, yeah, it's adding a whole bunch of frames. It's adding 5 frames for every frame or 10 frames for every frame. Of course, it's going to look video-y.
That's going to be another problem.
It's all soft.
That's going to be another problem is that people say, "Oh, I have 120," but it's interpolated 120. You want a 120
real 120.
What do you need to get the whole chain to work, Alex?
You just need a TV that'll support the 120. You need an Apple TV that supports 120 if they do that, and then you need, I believe, an HDMI 2.1 HDMI. So that's and then that's for the video. The other problem is, okay, let's say you have a surround sound system. You need an AVR that can pass 120 frames a second through it. And you just got to make sure that it'll actually be capable of managing that.
That's really interesting.
That'd be the other challenge.
So if I have my system connected via ARC, so it's getting the HDMI back, that's when it would be getting.
But it would need to be able to support 2.1, a full support of HDMI 2.1 to pass through. Which
if I did it via an optical
doable,
cable,
but you have to check it.
Would that have the same problem or no?
No, it's not the optical cable. It's the H.
Well, you can do it either
HDMI
way. You can have
2.1
it through ARC, or you can have it through an optical cable passed back into your AV. I bet it's the same because all they're going to do is split the signal.
Well, the optical cable. I don't think that do the new Apple TVs have one?
No, out of the TV. So it goes into the TV.
Yeah.
Goes in the TV via HDMI 2.0.
Optical out. Yeah, that'd be fine.
And then use optical out of the TV. The TV would have to down-res it to 60 for optical out, right? Otherwise, you'd be getting 120 frames.
You could optical out just the audio.
Yeah, the optical out is, I don't think, frame.
It's PCM. It doesn't matter. It's not. It's not. Okay. So that might be a.
Yep.
The only reason I ask is somebody's going to call a radio show and say,
the content, Leo, like remember when we saw The Hobbit at 60 frames per second?
Yeah,
you could see
I didn't
the
like
makeup
it.
lines in
Didn't
their
like
noses
it.
and stuff.
No, didn't like it.
The content wasn't there yet.
But that was upscaled, wasn't it? Was that shot at 120? It was shot at 60, maybe.
And I don't know. I mean, like this still pretty much. We're still talking about a long shot. But what I will say is that if Apple went down that path, it has incredible ramifications in the sense that if everyone starts watching 120 frame per second at home, going to the theater will get really messed up.
Yeah.
Like it will not work for people. If you get used to watching HDR, 4K, 120 frame a second with 7.1 or 7.12 or whatever, the theaters aren't going to be able to, most theaters are not going to be able to keep up.
I'm not so sure for a couple of reasons. One, that your local theater is absolutely that friend of yours who will buy the latest of everything, and where you can go to absolutely see everything at its best possible presentation.
Is it?
So if there's no,
what theater are you going to?
I don't go to drive-ins. I go to certified theaters that have screens that are much bigger than 50 inches, which is the one that I've got.
But they have Runco projectors they've spent $40,000 on that don't do 120 hertz. They're going to have to replace those.
Right. But so if they decide that they need to compete by giving people the best experience, particularly in these like event movies, like the Marvel movies, where you can barely follow the action as it is, but if you've got more frames in there, maybe you will be able to understand it a little bit more.
Funny.
But the only other thing is that I'm not 100% convinced that high frame rate is great for everything. I'm not sure I'm not sure that an intimate drama would be enhanced by high frame rate. So you need to get into that sort of dreamy.
Spike Lee's latest, The Five Bloods, was shot on a Area Alexa at a high frame rate, I think, because it was hyper real, and it bothered me a little bit.
Yeah,
and I like the dreamy 24 frames, but what it sounds like what Alex is saying is you may not like, because it's only because what we're conditioned to. You may not like it once you're conditioned to 120.
It is like, I just will say that the stuff that I've seen that's 8K 120 HDR or HDR10 in the sense that I was looking at it.
It's like looking through a window.
It is like looking through a window. It is literally like here's the interesting thing is that when it's completely full aperture, like you can't see anything else, your stomach will pull in when the camera moves. Like your brain is my brain isn't able to distinguish what it's looking at anymore. So it does create new problems, to Andy's point, that your brain is no longer saying, oh, this is just a movie. It is caught up in experiencing what's there. So I think that what it opens up for is a different kind of content that is going to be, could be experiential, could be still storytelling in movies, but maybe not the traditional film. And, it'll be interesting to see as we get out of this what traditional film looks like. We're seeing, Marvel is really successfully, and Disney is really successfully, stretching stories out over 5 or 6 hours, as opposed to
Zack Snyder's doing that piece. Too. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's doing it all in one movie, but I think that I'm enjoying a lot of these longer, like 6 episode, 8 episode.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing we're getting conditioned to, and is exactly right. Storytelling over in fact, it starts to feel a little constrained. Oh, I got to fit it into a 90-minute or 120-minute arc. That's going to be a very, how did you get The Hobbit in that? Oh, we made 3 movies. So I agree with you.
And just the psychology of streaming over cinema, because you have to tell stories very differently when people can switch networks. Like
that's why I don't care about the theater.
But they can switch so fast at home. You got to treat them like a YouTube video and get their attention and hook them.
I don't want that. I think some
respect
respect for the audience might be a good idea.
I do think that we'll end up seeing a lot less screens, but a lot higher quality. To Andy's point, is that I don't think they can afford to upgrade 12 or 15,000 screens, but they can afford to do 2,000 screens. And
it's
right now
timely
the only thing worth watching is IMAX and Dolby Cinema.
ArcLight Cinemas and Pacific Theaters, big Hollywood movie companies have closed. The parent company's handing the keys back to the landlord. And you've probably seen this Cinerama Dome, very famous in Hollywood. In fact, it was featured in the most recent.
I've been there.
I
saw Interstellar there.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be good to see Interstellar there. That'd be really beautiful. Yeah. It's sad. That's a Cinerama, so that's a super wide screen. It's a weird aspect ratio, but that's the thing. You say your neighborhood theater is going to upgrade it. They're barely able to keep afloat at this point.
But can I say there's also another element that there's something about cinema that is a shared experience. And the shared experience of going on Twitter later on and talking about it to other people in the world qualifies, but there is my greatest memories of seeing movies really aren't about being alone in my living room or even with a couple of friends in my living room. It is being in the Harvard Square Cinema with 350 people watching The Big Night, and at the moment where they cut into they cut into the timpano, that incredible like Italian entree that they've been working up to for the entire movie, and they lift up a slice of it and you see this cross section of eggs and sausage and pasta and just amazing things, and 350 people, myself included, suddenly went, oh. And then we all burst out laughing, realizing what had just happened. That's the sort of stuff I'm talking about. I hope that there will always that's an intrinsic part of the film experience, and that there will be people and companies that still think that that's a valuable thing.
But I think there's definitely going to be theaters. I just don't know how many. Yeah. Like it's not. I think that's the real question. I think we're going to end up at 2,000 screens.
Andy, there were people who said, "I love the smell of horse manure in the morning and means I'm going to work." There were people who said, "I can't wait to hold the newspaper in my hands and get the smell of that ink on my fingers." I mean, just because you and everybody else says, "Oh, we love that shared experience," doesn't mean it's going to survive. Unfortunately, true. That's it's economics, and actually at this point, if 120 hertz becomes huge, I think people are going to get used to it in the home. Yeah. And it might even be worse for movie theaters because we're going to have so much of a better experience at home.
My experience at home is way better than I can get almost, except for a Dolby Cinema. I can't get the same experience anywhere else.
Well, that's why the dome, they should save the dome, because there's certain places, there's events, but most of America doesn't live within driving distance.
Alex has a Steve Jobs theater in his garage. I mean, it's ridiculous.
We have in Marin.
Steve Jobs Theater.
What he does live nearby is the Marin Theater, the widescreen theater that George Lucas created THX for, and really is a nice single screen.
It is. It's a little aged.
It's out of date. Yeah.
Again, I go down. I will only sit in 4 seats inside of a Dolby Cinema if I'm going to go out to a theater. There's literally one. I go to San Francisco with my son usually, and we'll go down and it's like 10E through H or something like that. Those are the only seats. I'll just schedule my time around when those seats are available because they're right in the middle of the theater with no seats in front of you. And
so when Gemini Man came out. Remember that movie? Terrible movie. But when it came out, it was 120 hertz. There were 14 theaters in America that could play it at 120 hertz. It is it is not at least at this point, it is not easy for people to go see it. And most of them,
it's
by
much
the way,
easier.
were in big cities.
Again, it's much easier to roll this out over Apple TV than it is over theaters. It's just because Apple TV is a $300 item. Or $200 item or whatever they charge it. For a theater, it's going to be a $100,000 projector.
Yeah, exactly. I think it'll be very interesting. I'm not sure I'm ready for this, but at the same time, it's it's the future. You don't there's things. If you're watching Casablanca, you don't want Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman through your window, looking at them in real life. You want to see that dreamy kind of feeling. But again, like Andy's watching, Big Nights. Reveal, it may be something that's just our generation won't be the last generation.
When you look back at old movies, though, they're
not as great.
Camera moves and the lock-offs and everything else. You're kind of like, that's pretty slow.
I get the Criterion Channel.
That's wrong.
No, it isn't wrong.
How dare
I get the Criterion. I know it's sacrilege, but it's true. I get the Criterion Channel, which is great for old movies. It's all Criterion's old movies, and I at least weekly try to get Lisa to sit down and watch one with me. And I said, God, this was a great movie. And I watch it and I'm going, and you could tell she's losing interest because it's just, I think there's a nostalgia, Andy, but filmmaking is advanced so far.
Yeah. Well, no, it's never about the technology used to create the movie. It's always about using the eye from exactly.
And look at Mank, which was a brand new movie shot as if it were Citizen Kane, and a great movie, right?
Yeah, nice. But yeah, this is one of those times where. Frequent times where I really wish that Roger Ebert were still around because he would have so much insight about this. I do remember that off the top of my head that he did write about some of the psychology or physiology of how the eye responds to the moving image. That it's because he actually was writing about high frame rate way before anybody else because he was a big proponent of this thing called a system called ShowScan, which was essentially it was mostly used for ride technology, but it was very high rate filmmaking. And he said, every time I see a demo of this, it's like it's great. It's really the next thing. At the same time, and this is why he was so great, he could say that there's it's not just the 24 frames per second isn't just being aware that it's a movie versus it's a higher frame rate, so I feel as though it's real life. It has an actual effect on the brain. It's a brain hack that basically puts the brain into a state that makes it more receptive to, okay, I'm going to accept that this reality being presented to me is I'm not going to worry that the spaceship should not be making noise in a vacuum. It should not be doing banking turns. I'm simply going to enjoy this thing, this story, and treat these people that I'm seeing as actual real people. So there's a lot of stuff going on. As the technology has changed since 1900. It's the basics of storytelling, the basics of value of cinema have never changed. It's always about characters, stories.
And that doesn't require 24.
Doesn't require 24, doesn't require 120, so it'll all work out.
It all comes down to writing, acting. I agree. I mean, directing. I agree.
The other thing that I think that Apple did recently, and I can't remember what piece it was, maybe Renee or Andy will remember, but Apple's put out a podcast that's related to one of their products. So they have a podcast that's added content.
Wow.
That against one of the Apple TV products. That is revolutionary. I mean, like if content creators start, sorry,
the Walk With Me thing that lets you with your Apple Watch, it tells you stories as you're walking.
No, I think that there was
no. I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
I saw it go by.
But it's not the first time. Remember, The Walking Dead had. That's what made me think of Walk With Me. It made me think of it. Had Walking Dead or whatever, Talking Dead.
Oh, yeah.
So this actually started, I think this started when HBO started realizing that these episodic shows had a huge opportunity for marketing and social media. You'd get people talking about Easter eggs and stuff. And so Apple's not new at this, but I would expect Apple to become very adept at the kind of side.
Well, they have a lot more of the.
They own the universe.
Yeah, they own that part, so it could be interesting.
It's going to be just very interesting to see. I think part of this, Andy, is you and I are old timers and love old movies, and we're used to that dreamy look. Remember we were talking a few weeks ago, somebody, and I still can't remember who it was, said that Hollywood's been doing virtual reality practically since the beginning, since that film with a train coming at you, got everybody to run out of the theater. That's what between the music, the pictures, the sound, the big screen, it did engulf you. You became a part of it. It was virtual reality without putting any headsets on.
I'm going old school Hollywood.
I like it. Blue. Very nice. Look at that. Yeah. Show Alex. Can you switch or where you lost the switcher? There you go.
Yeah. So I'm doing.
Do you wear those?
Exactly.
Is it red blue or red green? Is it red blue?
It's red blue.
Yeah.
It's red blue. I actually.
He's got clip-ons, folks, for you listening, that give you the old 3D movie red blue thing.
I started building. I have a couple extra iPhone 12s, and so I built.
Are you doing
3D
red
rig.
green 3D?
Yeah,
red blue
3D with Apple with iPhones.
Why?
I printed a rig. It's fun. Gives me something to do. It's like,
where'd you get those clip-ons? Did you make them?
I ordered them on Amazon. No, I didn't make them. Amazon's got you can get them in a day.
What is it? Anagraphic? Is that what you said it was, John?
Anaglyph.
Anaglyph. That's right.
It looks amazing. Like when it works, you're just like, oh, this is great. I built I printed a rig for it
Oh, yeah,
match
they
the
sell them on
cameras
Amazon.
together.
That's hysterical.
Oh yeah, it works. It works great. That one right at the top. That's the one I mostly do when I have contacts on. That's the best one.
That's the be all. $10.
You know me, I ordered all of them that they had in there. That's the best one.
It's and then if you really want to go old school, you can get a dozen of the cardboard ones for $7. I'm amazed somebody makes those.
You know, it's still the 3D is still so much fun. On Sundays we go out to the beach, and I just have to. I don't do very well at just laying around on the beach, so I do 3D and photogrammetry and things like that. It's like what I do. I don't really fish. It's too cold, but
that's hysterical. I love it. Let's take a little break because I'm sure there's other things we could talk about besides the Apple event. We're going to have a lot of fun on the next Tuesday. What is that? April 21st? 20th.
April 20th.
April 20th, 10 a.m. Pacific. That's 1 p.m.
Did you see the
Eastern.
memes, Leo?
Say again?
There are memes because Apple announced WWDC precisely 69 days early, and then they announced an event for 420. So the entire internet is lit right now.
Oh, Lord. You stoners, you just got to give up on
Fellow
that whole
kids,
thing.
fellow kids at Apple Marketing.
Let me see. 420 Apple memes. If I search for them, they're on the Twitter, aren't they?
Probably, and probably the Reddit.
Yeah. I can't find them. I could find funny Apple bong weed memes, but I don't really want to show those.
Well, because Craig Federighi joked about OS 10 weed a while back.
Oh, that's right.
It's going to haunt him forever.
Yeah, no kidding. That was highly inappropriate. All right.
Yeah.
Again, I'm very old.
Early
school.
days.
I'm old-fashioned. I'm an old-fashioned guy, like Andy.
He was feeling his way into a new and brighter key.
That's how Andy ought to look. High contrast.
There you go.
I've decided I'm doing the rest of the show in 2-strip Technicolor. Nothing but blue and green.
Can you slow down the frame rate though? Because you're a little too realistic.
Coming at you live from across the sea, Andy Iannaccio has invaded Mac Break Weekly.
The Hobbit was shot at 48 frames, and we thought that was too realistic. Imagine 120. Yeah. Oh, Alex is going black and white. Oh. Now, you really do look like you should be in Citizen Kane. See, this is what I like about black and white. There's just something crispy about it that gives it a very...
We should do the whole thing in black and white.
You look grungy. You look like... Now it's street photography, Alex. Instead of what we got a game before, which is beauty shot, Alex.
There's that Navy SEAL podcast that every episode is in black and white. I forget what it is, what it's called.
It should be. It should be. Black and white. There's something about it. NASA is using red and blue 3D glasses to safely drive. And I can't read the rest of the headline. I'm going to have to go look at it. It's in Gizmodo. To safely drive the Mars rover while working from home. Now, see, this is like Silvertone. If you're listening, just imagine. Now I look grungy. Now I look like Street Leo. The only person who's in color still is Renee.
Oh, I went back. Yeah. Hold on, I gotta.
Yeah.
I'm not giving it up, Leo. It's like an episode of WandaVision. You go from black and white to color, you don't go back.
Whoa! Suddenly, the 420 kicked in. Our show today brought to you by ExpressVPN. Have you ever browsed in incognito mode? I loved it. What was it? It was a judge it was a lawsuit against. It was a lawyer. No, I think it was the judge who said it. A lawsuit against Google. And the lawyer said, "Wait a minute. You're telling me that when I'm in incognito mode, Google can still?" And she, by the way, approved the class action lawsuit. Google can still see everything I'm doing. Yeah. The only thing incognito mode or what is it, private browsing in Safari, the only thing those modes do is hide what you're doing from your spouse or your roommates. It doesn't hide anything from the internet service provider, from Google if you're doing a Google search. Google's made a fortune. They're one of the most valuable companies in the world. And how do they do it? Tracking you. There's this lawsuit, this class action lawsuit is now for $5 billion. And it comes down to the fact that incognito mode ain't so incognito. Google says, well, incognito doesn't mean invisible. How do you make yourself invisible online? ExpressVPN. See, the beauty of ExpressVPN is as soon as you fire it up, and by the way, it runs on every device you've got, even your smart TV, even you can get it on a router. Many of your routers can be adapted to work with ExpressVPN, which means your whole house could be private because you're going through past the internet service provider. They can't see what you're doing, out to the ExpressVPN server, then emerging into the world with a randomized IP address that Google has no idea who you are. They don't know. Every time you turn on ExpressVPN, you get a different IP address. Other ExpressVPN customers share it. Third parties have to use some other trick to identify you and harvest your data. Not that they're not trying, but why make it easy? Best part is ExpressVPN is easy for you. No matter what device you're on, all you have to do is press the big button and you're protected. I think ExpressVPN is a no-brainer. And one of the things I like about ExpressVPN compared to other services is they invest in infrastructure. So their speed is right up there, which means you can watch HD video without buffering. You're going to be able to do all the things. In fact, if you put it on your router, you won't even know, and no one in your house will know that you're using it, except that nobody out in the outside world will know what you're doing. If you really want to go incognito and protect your privacy, secure yourself with the #1 rated VPN. Visit expressvpn.com/MacBreak. It's very affordable, especially with our deal. You get 3 extra months free when you buy the 1-year package. expressvpn.com/MacBreak. I spell out Express because I want you to know they don't do that shorthand. It's just like the actual word Express. expressvpn.com/MacBreak. Get 15 months for the price of 12 right now. expressvpn.com/MacBreak. Thank you for supporting MacBreak Weekly. ExpressVPN. Anything else to say about April, about 420?
I was wondering if they're. I was just wondering if Tim is going to take this opportunity to talk some more about privacy and talk some more about basically start with a Battlefront update, because they're fighting Facebook very publicly, they're fighting Epic very publicly, and this might be an opportunity to continue to fire some shots across the bow of those two entities. I can
guarantee you he will, because obviously 14.5 is going to roll out on Tuesday. And that's the big change, right? 14.5 now forces everybody to ask your permission to turn on the IDFA. They have everybody will have to have a privacy label now, right? This is the cliff that Facebook was worried about.
This is the death knell to small business everywhere.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah. I'm buying like 18 pizzas from the pizza place next door because Apple is going to be putting them out of business, according to Facebook. I'll put them in the freezer.
It'll be interesting to see if Apple does anything, if there's any demos with the new iPad that are related to AR and whether they use Unity or not, as opposed to Unreal. In the past, the Unreal was part of those. Their Unreal executions were part of the keynotes. Obviously, that's not going to happen. So it'll be interesting to see if Unity suddenly shows up, and if they do, it's just really going to be a bummer for Epic because it's an unforced error. Like it's Unity was just about. I mean, most of us had kind of forgotten about them, and now we're all
the headlines in the App Store are PUBG now. Not Fortnite.
They're for PUBG, not
all the
Fortnite.
features on the App Store are for PUBG now. Yeah,
the Fortnite competitor.
The one that Fortnite copied too.
Apple has been constrained by the judge from blocking Unreal Engine apps.
Right.
They wanted to, so you think Apple is going to say, "Oh, see, you say it's an unforced error on Epic, and I guess it is Epic's fault. They've been planning this for years, but doesn't it hurt Apple more than it hurts Epic? No,
that doesn't really have any role. I mean, again, I think that I don't think it hurts Apple. I mean,
wouldn't developers want to use Unreal over Unity?
They still can.
Well, the hard part is that they still can, so they can use Unreal all they want. So that's not going to. But if Apple starts showing Unreal, like most people don't. Unity. Most people don't know the difference still today. So
is Unity as good as Unreal 5? Can Unity?
It's different. Pokemon is in Unity.
Yeah, Pokemon's in Unity.
Pokemon is not exactly the most realistic game I've ever seen.
It's different.
All they want is to cross-compile, though, yeah.
Yeah, that's for cross-compilation, but you're saying Unity to replace the Unreal Engine for 3D graphics.
It does a lot of great 3D. It has a couple things that Unreal has spent a lot more money on the the ecosystem. So their ecosystem related to assets that you can get, things that you can build. They have a meta-human project that's amazing. They've really invested more in their community, I believe, than Unity, and they were kind of bolstered by Fortnite. So there's a lot of things that have kind of moved down the path. So I think Epic has a lot more of the mind share right now. If Apple brings Unity into it and starts, and they don't have to do anything. They don't have to endorse them. They just say, here's an AR solution done in Unity. Like that's all they have to do. And there's going to be a lot of people that suddenly go, oh, what is Unity? And whoa, maybe I'll use that. And so it just evens the playing field out, a little bit more than it has been in the last couple of years. Because we started in Unity. I mean, most of our early tests were in Unity. And so it's a great platform. It doesn't have some things we need for broadcast. So
it doesn't have ray tracing. It doesn't have the AAA stuff that games want, right? In fact, on the Unity demo page, the very top game is a 2019 release called The Heretic. So, but maybe that doesn't matter on mobile or not. I feel like it should matter on iPad.
But AR is is an entirely different world. Like what's needed and what's not needed.
Is Unity sufficient for AR?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it could arguably be as good or better than Unreal for AR.
Somebody in the chat room, Evil John, who is actually a great resource in the chat room, says that it's actually harder to use Unreal on mobile, and it's a C++ platform, whereas Unity is C#, which he says is easier to learn.
But remember, the big kerfuffle was that Apple initially pulled the entire developer license for it.
So I remember, and they were ordered by the court.
Exactly. So it was never, I don't think it was ever a risk of apps that use this engine being pulled from the App Store, in case anybody out there is wondering.
If I were a developer, I'd still wonder what's going to be the upshot of the court action. The court, all the court did was accept a injunctive relief from Epic and deny Apple the right to cancel any Unreal stuff. So
you could also worry that Epic is not the best steward for Unreal because they have a conflict of interest between how they're managing their games and how they're managing the platform. And they arguably, again, the judge and Apple both said, we'll put everything in escrow, we'll figure this out, and then people can keep playing, they can keep doing everything. And Epic was the only one who said no. Apple said yes to that. And so you can start to wonder, founders are different than CEOs. Sometimes CEOs are like grown-ups and founders are like little kids still. So I think it's fair for people who develop on the Unreal platform to wonder if Tim Epic has their best interest in mind or his best interest.
Clearly, because he risked it all for them, and Apple wanted to pull the developer license,
and so Unity suddenly showing up on every Apple event would be some clear signaling to developers where Apple is interested in.
It's kind of like Final Cut showing up on every Apple event, and Adobe Premiere disappearing, or and on and on and on, or Aperture versus Lightroom.
And I still think that AR is going to be a bigger game than games, or it's a bigger field than games and a lot of other things. It's going to be something that you use everywhere, education.
Yeah, but it's clear Apple understands how important gaming is. They just expanded Apple Arcade to 180 titles. I think they want to be the default mobile gaming platform. They look at what Nintendo makes on its Switch and they go, that would be nice.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that AR is going to be a big deal.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you do, and
that's the kind of pause that my trained eye says that he knows something. He was about to say something, but he caught himself just in time.
Okay, interesting. Okay, it is going to be a big deal, and maybe Apple announced. You think Apple announced something on Tuesday, or do you want to recuse yourself? You doubt it. It's too early.
No, I doubt that would happen. I mean, I think that the earliest you'd see it is June, and probably next June. No, I wouldn't. But it could be.
They will talk about it at WWDC. They'll need to. Right?
I mean, they're talking about it all the time. So they're talking about AR all the time. Apple's talking about AR all the time.
But not in concrete terms. They're talking about how much they like it, right? I mean, wouldn't you need an SDK and things?
Oh, but the thing is that they're talking about how much they like it, and they also incorporated a 3D engine into Final Cut and Motion.
Right.
Like that is no small feat to put a high performance 3D engine into an editing package.
Yeah.
So there's
and they put LiDAR on the high end iPads and they put LiDAR on the phones. So clearly that's important for them.
It's an incredible amount of investment to go down a path that they don't think is a big deal.
But it's not unheard of for a company to go down a path that they think is going to be a big deal and the market not following.
Yep.
3D video, for instance. So Apple, I agree with you. It's clear Apple's hardcore on this, but it's yet to be demonstrated that that's a market. Meanwhile, AAA gaming is a market.
Charts, though, Leo. Charts.
Charts. What did Tim Cook tell Kara Swisher about AR?
That if they had AR right now, they could be looking at charts together. And people who are listening to the podcast could be looking at charts
I'm
as
not
they're
sold.
talking.
Not sold. No.
But to Tim Cook, everything is a pivot table.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Pivot tables in 3D might be kind of cool. You could watch them pivot.
I agree.
I mean, I think that some of the things that we look at is the ability to you imagine a classroom, let's say, talking about how motors work, and all the kids can sit there and just pull them apart on their own, not a shared experience, but pull them apart in front of them and be able to move things around and pull and be talking interactively about it, and everyone's able to play with it and ask questions and pull it in and have things pop up in front of them and everything else. And that's just education. That's not like how to build the chair that you just bought, or does the couch look good in your
and
in
the
your living
iPad
room.
was going to revolutionize education, and so was iBooks, and on and on and on. I think that Apple's interest in this does not determine whether it's going to happen.
But
It's not automatic.
I would argue that I would argue that the investment put into iBooks or the iPad is a fraction of what we're seeing with AR. Like if it's,
I'm not saying you're wrong.
So much work.
I want to say clearly, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying it's unknown.
Right.
And I guess from Apple's point of view, getting everybody to use Unity would further what they think is going to be the next big thing. But if I'm a developer and I'm using Unreal Engine, I'm having to think long and hard now. But what do I do? Are there a lot?
It's not so much art. The thing is that we're still in the very early days of it, where there's just not that many developers.
Right.
So it's not a matter of if you're using Unreal, should you move to Unity? It's if you're using nothing, which one should you pick? And so because that's 99% of the market right now.
I'm talking about
nobody,
not AR at this point, but 2D games, and there are a lot of AR. I'm sorry,
2D games. Again,
there are a lot of games using Unreal Engine right now that are wondering, what do we do? And are they going to port over to Unity? I don't think so. That's
no. I don't. But again, I still think that the market will grow to be a lot bigger.
Right.
So I think that's the issue.
Yeah. When?
Next couple of years is what I imagine.
Yeah. And I guess if you're a big studio, you're thinking about what's going to happen in 2023 and 2024, not what's happening in 2021.
It takes a couple of years to build a game. So you have to think about where it's going to be then.
So would you say, if you're developing a game at this point, you're not going to use Unreal. You're going to use Unity.
Well, we're doing training in office hours with Unreal right now. So I'm
I know.
You know, but right now we're worried about concepts of just how to do real-time 3D. So, and we have experts in Unreal available to us. And so that makes sense. I will say that I am bluntly looking at languaging from Apple to decide what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Like as far as what I'm going to do as far as developing content. So I'm looking at, as a person who's potentially moving into this market to do more content development, I am absolutely looking at the next 3 events from Apple.
Yes.
As to, if I see a whole lot of Unity, I'm going Unity. Like it's, like I'm not going to.
That's exactly
I'm not
right.
going to.
Yeah.
My market is the iPhone. If I see Apple spending a lot of time and money, if I don't, then I'll stick with what I have. You know, but I have to, from a cold hard business decision, if Apple's signaling that they're going to go heavy into Unity, then you're better off not taking any chances, because right now we don't know how long that court case will go. Maybe Apple wins and then they just cut everybody off.
When did Tim Cook say Epic wants to turn the App Store into a flea market? Was
yeah, he gave a couple exclusives to the Toronto Star.
Yeah.
So Renee, that's your territory, I think.
It's a Canadian paper, I believe.
Yes.
I don't subscribe, so I can't read the article.
You can get it on Apple News, Leo, if you're in Canada. At least I think maybe in the U.S. too. I'm not sure. It's one of the
you can get it in the U.S. I read it in the U.S. last night or the day before.
I'm on it right now, and it says this article is exclusive to subscribers.
Oh.
Yeah, it's in Apple News Plus. So if you have Apple News Plus, no one here has Apple News Plus but me. I should just stop saying things like that.
I have it.
I have it. Don't use it.
Cheapskate for the Wall Street Journal.
I have it.
Yeah,
actually, that's a good way. Yeah, I'm surprised the Wall Street Journal's still on it for that very reason. All right, so let me see. I have to look at it on my iPhone now. Is that it? So what did he say? You're looking at it, Renee. What did he say?
No, I mean, it's the same. It's similar to what he said with the carrot switcher thing, where Apple's. Actually, I guess the carrot switcher was a little bit different, but he's basically making his case that on one hand, side loading is evil and will allow malware and all sorts of undesirable things break the security and privacy of the iPhone. And on the other hand, that the Apple App Store is curated and provides a premium experience, and it's not just like a bazaar or a flea market where you can have any manner of potentially dangerous or spyware strewn apps available to you.
Alex, you feel very strongly, I think, that Apple's App Store VIG is fair, and people should just put up with it and pay the 30%.
I don't know if I think it's fair. I think it's. I think it's just a dangerous path to start telling people what they. I mean, we're paying high margins all the time as consumers. I mean, when you buy a Gap, shirt.
Oh yeah, it's 100% markup.
When it's 50% off, it's still a 100% markup. It's a huge profit. Yeah. Like they're buying those, they're building those shirts for like $3 each. And so the idea that we get into, like, there's nowhere to unpeel this. Like, you can talk about 30% or whatever, but 30% is a typical markup. I mean, most equipment that I buy is running at 40, 50%. Now, right. Walmart has been able to beat everybody into the ground, but I've talked to people who, for instance, started selling food at Costco, and what it did to string out all the margin, had them just not sell it there anymore, because they were like, we can't maintain quality, we can't do anything at low margins. And so when you start, the thing is that we have to decide on value. Is that app worth it to us to do? And the developer has to decide, is that market worth it for me? But starting to tell companies what, micromanaging their percentages by the government or judges seems really, it's hard to swallow as something that's okay. And especially, I was going to say, especially when you don't have 90% of the market. Like, anybody who talks about Google or Microsoft as parallels is just wrong. They're wrong because that was 90% of the market. 90% of the market and 40% of the market or 45% of the market are two entirely different worlds. And so you have to take all of the ones that are the older ones and just throw them away if they're over 85% of the market, because that's an entirely different conversation. You absolutely don't have a choice. But right now, you do. You can go to Android and use that, and there's a whole crazy market there that's available to you.
Ben Thompson had a really interesting thing that I had not considered previously, and he was saying that one of the biggest things that people face is churn, and some of the churn comes from people whose credit cards just expire, and there is a huge upside to having a credit card that's attached to the App Store powering your app, because people do not let their App Store credit cards expire, and that changed his opinion on the value equation of Apple charging more than just like what Stripe would charge for a transaction fee.
Yeah. Apple has declined to attend a hearing from the Senate Judiciary Committee.
I think they said they're going to send somebody now, right?
Yeah, okay. Tim wasn't available because there's an event. Turns out there's an event.
Oh, is it Tuesday they're going to do it? No wonder they're not going.
It's Wednesday, but he's got a bunch of stuff to do around the event, so they're sending their chief compliance officer.
Doesn't have an airplane to hand, so yeah. Actually, it wouldn't be flying anyway. They would just do it by a...
Still, he's got all these post-event press and
WebEx
process.
Yeah, I guess. It's also inconvenient. They could send a representative, but...
They are. They're sending their chief compliance officer.
Okay, all right. That's kind of what they've done in the past. You don't always want to send the CEO. They've got other things to do.
Well, especially in the middle of a court case, you don't want to be speaking under oath. That's a fishing trip.
That's right.
That's a fishing expedition, and so it's a horrible idea to send anybody that could possibly connected to it into a place where they're under oath and being that's nuts. Yeah.
Apple, not that this was a surprise, but in the Epic discovery, they found some emails, and during a deposition, they got some quotes. I think the most telling one is from an email from Phil Schiller, who was responding to a former Apple employee who suggested the number one most difficult reason to leave the Apple universe is iMessage. iMessage amounts to serious lock-in, to which Schiller responded, "Moving iMessage to Android would hurt us more than help us. This email illustrates why. Pretty clear.
I am so shocked. I am so shocked by this.
We always
and they don't put
suspected
Mario on the Xbox. They don't put Halo on the PlayStation. They don't put the Google Camera app on other Android phones. I am so shocked that there's business going on in these establishments.
Yeah, I was hoping they would do it for the people, but you know what? Google's inability to create a good Android messenger.
It would cost them money. Well, no, but there's four things. It would cost them a lot of money to do it with almost no upside.
Right.
Apple is historically not good at services or cross-platform, so I don't even want to know what kind of app.
Apparently, according to the deposition, they had an app. They had written one.
They do, but I mean, that's not a quality. I mean, they have Apple Music on Android. It's not like my favorite app. Yeah. And the last thing is that the only reason that iMessage is in the game, it's not in the game except in North America, and that's because it is built into the SMS app. It is drop dead easy to do. On Android, you'd have to press a button to make it default, and people won't even do that. So like, it's just I don't see any upside to them doing it.
They also, the other interesting thing in that deposition related to iMessage was he was specifically saying that it would basically, and not just to send people to Android, but send like their kids to Android. So
the cheap Android phones, that parents would buy cheap Android phones because you don't want to spend $500 on a phone for your kid.
Yeah.
So, and that's, but that's, that's business.
It's fine. Yeah. It does, as usual, make me think about the next time that whenever they're talking about on the Android platform, they don't have this. On the Android platform, you missed that. It's like, well, you have a wonderful platform. You could extend it. And if all these things that you keep couching in terms of, but we have a mission for humanity. We're trying to make the planet a better place. We believe that certain things are basic human right. Like, it's okay for you to say that this is what we want. This is a good business decision for us. As Renee said, there's a very, very rational argument.
It's a clear
This is why I don't distrust them. I don't roll my eyes at them. But every time they talk about saving the world, I say there's always a business angle.
I'll give you another example, and I apologize because it's a little convoluted. Google killed Hangouts last week for Google Fi users, which is the last bastion of cross-platform messaging. I used to use, because I have a Google phone, so I used to use Hangouts on my Google Fi number, and then I had it running on my iPhone so that I could get messages when I didn't have my Android phone with me, and that was very convenient. That's the number I give out, is that Google Fi number. So I was looking for a replacement, and there is a replacement that's everywhere. It's on the Mac, it's on PCs, it's on Linux, it runs on the Android phone. The only place it's not is iOS. It's called Pulse, from a guy named Luke Klinker. And Luke says, I wrote an iOS app, but Apple will not let it in the store because it requires an Android phone to use, and so they don't want that in their store. And that's an example of something that Apple could do at and it's, by the way, you pay $12, they get money for it.
It requires an Android phone to use it on iOS.
Was it a way to get iMessage my iMessage working on Android phones? I think. And so
no. That's another thing. You're thinking about Beeper.
Oh, okay, you're right.
Which is another thing, but that goes the other direction. It's and by the way, forget Beeper. There's a thing called iMessage that works great. If you keep a Mac on, you just run iMessage on it, and you can always use your Android phone. But so I have it going from iOS to Android. That's not the problem. What I want is Android to iOS. I guess you would have to have an Android phone to use it. So,
but how are we distinguishing it from like WhatsApp?
Here's the big difference. Well, there's always a difference on iOS because only messages could be your SMS app. So that's part of the problem. If I could make WhatsApp,
for SMS.
Yeah, well, if I could make WhatsApp my universal messenger, then I wouldn't have this problem. But you can't.
You can only do it on a contact by contact basis.
You can't. So, and I want to be able to receive text messages as well as data messages. That's not unreasonable. SMS is still widely used, especially for people not in the Apple ecosystem, which I have actually people I know are using Android devices. I know it's shocking. But
I guess by
the way, on Android, you can say, this is my default messaging app, which is I'm doing with Pulse. You can't do it with WhatsApp.
What half the world does with WeChat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, it's like most of my time, if I'm going to text, is Signal. I mean, other than Messenger.
I can make the drawback on Signal. Yes. I love Signal. I would use it. And in fact, it can be the default SMS messenger on Android. The problem with it, you can only use it on one phone at a time because it's tied to your phone number.
Right.
So as soon as you log into your iPhone, it says, I've deactivated your Android version. Oh, well, that's useless.
That's part of what killed BBM as well when they finally ported it.
Yeah. They may fix that. There's rumors they're going to start using it.
Well, I have to admit, I have an older phone that I use a lot, and the main reason I use it is there's a whole bunch of people with that number that have Android phones,
right?
And that tie me to that phone because there
you go.
All my other phones get all this other messages, and it shows up everywhere. In fact, it's a little annoying because it shows up on a whole bunch of phones and things going off.
All Apple would have to do to fix this is allow you to make other messaging apps default, just as they do now with Mail and browsers, right? You could change your default browser in your email.
They'll get there.
Pardon me?
I think they'll get there. I think they'll do it step by step.
That would solve it.
Messages might be later because it might be complicated for them to unravel securely that little bundle that they've put together. But I think sooner or later they'll get there.
And the other thing would solve it is if SMS just died a horrible death. But in order for that to work, everybody I know would have to use the same messaging app.
I guess I don't actually understand. I don't understand how messages could open it up and still be secure. And I'd much rather have security than it open. Like I think I don't think you could ever really close that.
Although it's not
gap.
that secure. I mean, how many times have we seen carefully crafted Apple messages?
We have Blast Door now, though, Leo.
What's this? Blast Door prevents that now? Is that going to fix that?
Yeah. It's a lot easier to keep on working on one that's completely dedicated to that system than it is to start making it available to a bunch of other things. I think that's the issue.
And also, to be fair, there's no shortage of nice, secure apps for messaging on Android. So it's not as though Apple is denying something valuable that Android wouldn't have without it.
Yeah. I mean, believe me, this is a little petty thing, but I bring it up as an illustration of the fact that Apple it's more than just not making messages for iPhone for Android. It's really they want that walled garden. They really do.
But it's funny though that they make that up like they're holding out messages. Messages, like if you look at the top used message apps, it doesn't even show up. Like it's in the other section. Right. Like it's
even
not,
on
it's
iPhone,
so
people
small.
are using WhatsApp or they're using Telegram or something else. I wish we could just.
Every manufacturer has exclusive apps. Like Google has a bunch of them. The Pixel can do things that no other Android phone can do. That's why I keep buying the Pixel. I'm locked to the Pixel because I want the Google goodness.
Well, Google has now killed everything for the Pixel except Android messages. That they want you, and that's the rich text system, and they want you to use that.
I'm going to smuggle a Pixel 5a across the border from America because we're not going to get it anymore.
I'll be your Pixel mule. I'll trade you pixels for Timbits and Nordiques jerseys.
Okay, done.
Let's see. Moving right along.
So many controversies, so little time.
Pick one.
Outrage.
Pick one. Pick one that's outrageous. I don't have any outrage anymore. Apple's. This is good. This isn't a response, and this may be a little bit of a hint that AirTags is coming out on Tuesday. We should do a little betting pool. Who would say, show of hands, who would say AirTags will come out on Tuesday?
They have to at some point, or we're going to just fall down and cry. I'm going to have learned helplessness.
You say they have to at some point. That doesn't mean Tuesday. Andy and I are going,
I think betting on it ever appearing on any certain date is a mug's game. This is
you could lose
the
your
Flying
eyebrows
Dutchman
for
of
that.
Apple tech products.
Yeah. No.
Yes, literally.
But this might be a hint because Apple has decided to open up Find My to third-party finding experiences.
The timing seems pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that means, by the way, Tile has not signed up to use this, which is that's the company that's bitching about Apple not opening it up. So Belkin, Chipolo, and Van Moof, your Van Moof bicycle. Your Van Moof bicycle will be on the. I love that idea. I wish I had a Van Moof. You could go open Find My and see where your bicycle is.
Someone steals your bike and you're like just follow them around.
Well, don't do that. That's one of the risks, of course. You don't want to go to
the Europeans were very vocal that North Americans don't understand what it's like to have a parking lot with 3,000 bicycles in it.
Oh,
this solves a real problem for them.
Perfect example. I've seen those like in Amsterdam,
Holland,
where you just can't. It's like one of those is mine. So and the Apple press release says beginning next week. So again, I think that's a pretty strong hint.
It's just weird they put it out before the event. Like, you'd figure they'd announce AirTags at the event, and this would be the follow-on press release. Also coming out, so that Tile can't go to the government and complain about us again, is a bunch of other third parties that we're enabling to compete against everybody.
Tile's complaint is that Apple has a certain advantage because they own the phone, they own the platform,
but they're not cross-platform, so Tile has their own advantage.
Can I offer the observation as someone who is not currently under any Apple NDAs? It's possible they need to have it active for the people who already have them or about to soon have them, so that they can start playing with them, so they can have their coverage out on Tuesday or next week.
Any Van Moof S3 or X3 bike purchased from April 7th on will have this little logo underneath the tube. Locate with Apple Find My. I think that's really great. I'd love to see everything.
Going back to Marquez's dog video to see if Mac is wearing an AirTag on his collar. We'll be right back.
Chipolo makes Bluetooth trackers kind of like the tracker or Tile. Here's a picture of keys with a Chipolo tracker on it. So, will it have parity though with AirTags? I mean, will AirTags have some advantages that these things won't?
The only difference is that the privacy model can vary. Apple's is going to have an absolute privacy model, but there are others that might let you do more things with your data than the Apple AirTags would allow. So they get to sort of, you can't mix and match. Like, you can't say, I want to let, the manufacturer can. The manufacturer can't just turn everything on. Your AirTags will stay private. And some of them sort of complained about that, but basically you get to pick whichever company's policy and implementation you prefer.
Here's the new logo. You'll see this on these Belkin earbuds, the Soundform Freedom True Wireless earbuds. It's like little parentheses surrounding a GPS arrow.
There's three things that are really clever that they're doing to sort of, so like one of the big concerns was that this was just going to be stalkerware, that, you know, as soon as this came out, people would use it for tracking. Nobody cares that Tile has been on the market for years. If it's got an Apple logo on it, it is a headline.
Right.
So Apple had to sort of balance out the privacy versus the security on this. And what they've chosen to do is everything is branded with that logo. So if somebody tries to give it to you, you know, and you don't really know about it, you have a visual cue on it. They will also, if the phone that they are set up with leaves the vicinity, it'll pop up on the closest phone and say there's an unknown tracker here. So, for example, if someone drops it in your bag and then leaves, when you take out your iPhone or iPad, it'll pop up and say there's an unknown tracker proximate to you. And then also, if you don't have an iPhone or you're just not looking at it, it will literally chirp at certain intervals so that you will investigate and find these things. And some people got upset saying, well, if they were stolen, that's going to alert the person that they're trackable. And that's the whole idea. They're totally Mark Robering this. This is the glitter bomb fart spray approach, where if you hear it chirping, you want to throw it out the window so that you can then go retrieve it. You don't want to Batman, infinite justice them yourself.
Yeah, you're being tracked. I think this, of all the things Apple could announce, this could be the hugest. Maybe because I lose things. I don't know. Imagine putting it on your drone.
Do you lose your bike, Leo, in the parking lot in Amsterdam?
No, I haven't done that yet. But
I have it on my keys. I have the Tile on my keys, and I probably use it once a week. It's like, where do I put those? I don't look at all. I just open up Tile. And
look at this is the Find My on an iPhone with little logo with a bike and a little logo with headphones, a little logo with your backpack. I think that's so cool. Apparently, this guy left everything lying around Golden Gate Park. But he must have gone to the mostly, outdoors indoors concert that or he was some festival and left everything behind. I guess it's time for rumors. I hate the rumors, but we got to do the rumors. Apple's iPhone 13 design renders. Who's rendering these, and how do they know? Reveals a smaller notch. This is from My Smart.
Mako Takara made
the
same kind of plasticky 3D printed mock-ups they made last year.
Yeah.
Based on
smaller notch. Yeah.
It's a huge thing because all the companies, Apple's going to have their cases ready day one, but nobody else will. So there's a huge business in exfiltrating CAD and other design cues from the factories, and then they fall into the hands of Asian media, and they will make like mock-ups and dummy units and 3D prints and things so that they can get their cases made in time too.
Answer me this, Renee. I didn't know the answer to this. We know that the new mini LED displays, we'll start seeing those Tuesday, probably on the iPad Pro. Apple is buying up panels for laptops. Will they go down to the phone? Will they use them on the phone? Will they stick with OLED on the phones?
No, my understanding is that what is currently LCD with LED backlight will be transitioned to mini LED because that is just better at that size, medium-sized panels.
Sure.
And things like the Apple Watch and the iPhone that use OLED will transition to micro LED, which is also a self-emitting technology, and that goes better with the battery life and
that's
other
not out
sort of
yet,
requirements they
right?
need.
That's next year, the year after, or the year after.
Bleeding edge, yeah.
It's way.
But OLED is pretty good. Like OLED on those size screens is really good.
Yeah.
On the iPhone, it's even RGB stripe. Sorry, on the Apple Watch, it's even RGB stripe. It's not even pentile, which is way better.
Yeah.
The supply chain, according to DigiTimes, says Apple's going to use low temperature polycrystalline oxide, or LTPO, OLED displays on the iPhone 13 Pro. It will have 120 hertz ProMotion display. Is that the first time on the phone?
The oxide is the key. Yeah, so the oxide is what they added to the iPad to get ProMotion to begin with. It's what lets them do the dynamic, the adjustable refresh rate.
Right.
And they didn't want to just peg it at 120 because that's hugely wasteful most of the time.
Yeah, it kills your battery. Yeah.
You need So they want that adaptive display rate, and you need the oxide in the panel. Samsung started to do it at note volumes, which is much. People forget that, like, Apple sells hundreds of millions of iPhones. You need hundreds of millions of panels.
Right.
So Samsung was able to produce those last year for the Note, but not for the Galaxy S. This year they were able to produce them for the Galaxy S, and they're able to finally handle iPhone volumes.
People, I don't have a 120 hertz phone, but people who have them love them, right? Or maybe they just see
really
the spec
good.
and they go, "It's good."
Yeah. They trick you into thinking the CPU is like ninja fast when all it's doing is just scrolling and responding faster.
Yeah. I bought a
And Android
120
is different than iPhone.
120 hertz computer display to play my game, but unfortunately, even with a high-end processor and a high-end graphics card, it can only go about 80 frames. So I don't know. It's 80. 80's good.
If you look at 60 on an iPhone compared to 60 on an Android, like iOS is already doing a lot. Like it has a much lighter load in terms of the rendering pipeline. Android's getting there. Every year they make that better and faster, but it's like Apple struggles with multitasking, Google struggles with rendering pipelines because they both started on the opposite end of the spectrum and they're getting better and better. But Apple's is just really good. So when you see Apple at 60 hertz, it's not as bad as some of the 60 hertz you see on other phones, but 120 hertz on an iPhone is going to look really, really good.
And that's something to consider in this new Apple TV. That's to do 4K at 120 hertz is a lot of processing. I mean, right now, and I don't know if it's the games or the PlayStation 5, but the PlayStation 5 can only do one or the other. It can't do both. It may just be the games.
A lot of phones, too. Like a lot of the earlier Samsung phones, you had to choose. You had to go to 1080 if you wanted to have 120 hertz.
Yeah.
And now I think you can do it at whatever it is.
So what would they put? This is going to be another showcase for the Apple Silicon, isn't it? Like, wow, we can do 4K at 120 hertz without even getting hot.
And ramp up and down without, because one of the other big problems is, like, you could see on some of the earlier phones, when they did try to shift, you could see the whole color management going out of whack as you changed refresh. Because, like, I think people forget that some people think the resolution it's just like cameras. It's not the resolution only. It's not the refresh rate only. It's like a variety of things, including color management and the quality of the pixels and the quantity. All of that has to work together to make a really good display. And if anything is out of whack, you start to see it. So if you're watching your phone ramp down and the color point change it, or like on the Pixel, the way that they would manage the brightness level would change just like out of nowhere as it was moving. So you got to do a lot right. And theoretically, Apple's really good at this stuff, but until I see it, I'm not going to believe anything.
Let me take a little break here. We will have more. There's lots more to talk about with Renee Ritchie, youtube.com/Renee Ritchie, with Andy Anako from GBH in Boston, and of course, the head of the office hours, Alex Lindsay, which you can sign up for. Actually, best thing, we give out the Bit.ly link, but really, you would want to go to the YouTube channel and look at it.
Just go to YouTube.
Yeah,
just go to YouTube and watch it, see if you like it. I have to say this morning's was exceptional, so I would highly recommend.
Is it on YouTube yet?
It's on YouTube. We had John Tatulis from Sound Devices, so the actual founder, CEO of Sound Devices came on.
Oh, I'll have to watch that one.
And it's great when someone who runs the company actually knows the product really well.
Yeah.
I mean, he's literally showing us really complex, stuff with it. I don't know why it's
not up on my
Oh, that's it. 16 hours. No,
16 hours. That's 16 hours ago.
That's from last night. Go to home. See if it's in the home.
That's from last night.
Yeah, that's from last night.
How many hours a day are you doing?
I did 4 or 5 hours a day.
Last night.
But it should be up there. But you'll see one focus on sound devices, and I don't know why it's not showing up there automatically. But anyway,
something.
But anyway, the whole thing is tightening up. So the what we call the producers, they're not the audience anymore, because they really are driving the conversation. So there are producers, and so the producers are asking great questions and voting all those questions up, and then the panelists have just gotten really good. And so first hour is really amazing, and then the second hour was just a very a great conversation with John about the mix pre, and so how it works and just a lot of Q&A with them. So
and all of this is free and ad-free at youtube.com/Alex Lindsay if you want to check it out. Our show today brought to you by, how many domains do you have, Alex? Have you ever counted the number of domains you have?
They're all on Hover.
Yeah.
There's probably 40 or 50.
Yeah. I got more than that. I should log into my Hover account. I have a lot of domain names. I got everything with Laporte, That's the other thing, is sometimes if you've got a business, you want to register all of the domain. All of the domain. I got leolaporte.blog.me.coffee.tech.social. I got them all. And you know what? It's come along that I've used it in various ways. When we wanted to set up our Mastodon instance, I had twit.social already. That was really nice. I could use that right away. Twit.community for our forums. Hover is a place that you can, as a business, establish your brand. You shouldn't be sending people to, Leo's hotspot at geocities.com. It's just not the right thing to do. You need to have your business domain. Your email should be coming to a custom domain. If you're a blogger, you should have a custom domain. Mine is leo.fm. I love that. Nice and short. Registered at Hover. If you're creating a portfolio, there's some really great artists' domains. My photos are at leo.camera, right? If you're building an online store, or just you want to make a more memorable redirect to your LinkedIn page, you can do it all with Hover. They've got the best domain names and email addresses waiting for you. It couldn't be easier to set up. If you want to use email, Hover has domain-based emails for all your needs, small or large. You add as many mailboxes to your domain as you need. When the domain renews, the mailboxes do too. Very fair pricing. Their most popular mailbox is a no-brainer for business owners. Plus, because you're using real email, you can use the email app you want to use. You can get it from anywhere, and Hover also offers webmail, which I think is very nice. Hover, it does not upsell you. That's the other reason. They're fast. They're really fast. Look at this. See, .cloud is 75% off. .wiki is, 83% off? .art, that's a good one for your portfolio. .75% off. I always check the Hover sales. Every month they have sales on different domain names. If you like to manage your own, as I do, they have great domain and email management tools. Easy to use, intuitive. I'm in there all the time, whether you're a web pro or not. Although, if you've got a blog or a website and you want to tie your Hover domain to it, their Hover Connect makes it very easy. There's lots of services on there, and it's just a point and click, and they'll do the DNS adjustment automatically. Hover is private and secure by default. A lot of companies say, oh, do you want to spend a little extra on domain privacy? With Hover, it's included. Your private information remains just that. Reduce spam and protect yourself from unwanted solicitations. Because at Hover, you are a customer. You're not a source of data. I have to say, it's not the same for other domain registrars. Take back control of your data with a reliable, tracker-free email. Hover's trusted by hundreds of thousands of customers who use Hover domains and names and emails to turn their ideas into reality. It's all I use for all my domains. It took a while. I moved them all over bit by bit, but now I'm so happy they're all on Hover. Whether you're a developer, a photographer, a small business, Hover has something for you to expand your projects and get the visibility you want. Just, you know what the funnest thing to do in the world is, and you don't even have to have an account to do this, is go to Hover and say, just type in a domain name. Let me start up at the top here. We'll just go to domains and type in something you want. Type in, what should we go? Let's say, what's our new business? Lip Lock's in my list. Somebody was saying, of course I used lip lock to register. You know what? When I started a new podcast, it's just a little anchor thing. This was some time ago. I called it Leo on the Line. And what did I register? Well, I went LOTL, what can I get? And I found LOTL.fun. Lotl Fun. I could do Lotl Online, Lotl Art, Lotl Live. Lotl Wiki is on sale right now. I have a number of wikis because I love wikis. .net, .co. And then they give you a lot of other recommendations. Just so much fun. Type in something you're looking for. You'll be blown away. Lotl.computer.dev.host.hosting.io .network .page site software solutions systems technology website, and that's just the tech section. It's fun. 10% off your first purchase of any domain extension for the entire first year. Hover.com/twit. 10% off your first purchase right now. Hover.com/twit. I admit it, I'm a domain hoarder. Okay, I said it. Hover.com/twit. On we go with the show. This is related. It's not an Apple story specifically, but Spotify announced a new bit of hardware today called the Spotify car thing. This is for people with older cars, but it is a device that you put in your car and you can Bluetooth pair to it. And it's free for people. I mean, you have to get into the early beta, but it's free for an early beta. It's got a big old knob on it. But this guy's put it on his vent of his car. And obviously you can only listen to Spotify for it. It's they say, not meant to compete with in-car infotainment systems. It's another step in our larger ubiquity strategy. That's interesting. Creating a truly frictionless audio experience for our users wherever they are and however they choose to listen. Imagine a refrigerator thing, a microwave oven thing, a bike thing. Uses voice control. There's a dial, preset buttons. It's just basically, I think this is to replace the car radio. I think it's very interesting. Let's see, what else? I know no one else cares, but Linux support for the M1 may be on its way by June. Woo-hoo. Yeah. Why you would put Linux on a Mac, I don't know, but if you wanted to, you could. This is because
you got to think about
it's like a state of maturity of the system.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. So they obviously this
also it's a way to keep. Sorry.
No, please go.
I was just going to say it's also a way to maintain the investment in the hardware, because 5 or 10 years later it will probably not be able to run anything. But yeah, which is a big deal if you are straight for funds, like a government or education or something like that. I have like 10-year-old MacBooks that are running Linux right now because they're useful. They're still wonderful machines.
Yeah. This will be in Linux kernel 5.13, which is in development right now. But it's complicated. I mean, not only do you have to support the M1 processor, but you also have to support, and this is actually the harder thing, a variety of other chips in there. And so it is not an easy thing to do, but I have seen some people already booting up Linux on an M1 Macintosh. It may be official in Linux by June. Let's see. Head of engineering for Apple's retail departing the company after 10 years. Diogo Rao. If he's been there 10 years, that means he did the web objects version of the store. Poor guy. He's going to become senior vice president and chief information and digital officer at Eli Lilly.
Didn't Lopp run that project? Wasn't that Michael Lopp's original project? Was the App Store? I forget now. Not the App Store. Sorry, the Apple's retail store online.
Oh, this is not the store on. This is Apple Retail. That's interesting.
Yeah, Mortar.
So what does he do? What engineering do you need to do for that? I guess I don't know.
I guess it really depends. Like flow of people, design of store, implementation of.
Yeah,
like tons of things that they have.
Well, then they carry that little thing on.
They
carry that little thing on their hip, right? So they check you out. There's probably a big back end involved there.
Easy Pay, which is neither easy nor pay. Yeah.
This is sort of a tangential Apple story. Nuance, which was originally the intelligence behind Siri in the early days. Eventually, Apple replaced it with their own hardware. Nuance has just been acquired by Microsoft for $19.7 billion, all cash. On the Twitter, I likened it to the little fish being eaten by a bigger fish, by a bigger fish, by a bigger fish, because Nuance acquired all the speech-to-text companies. They kind of brought it all under the Nuance fold, including Dragon and others. In fact, I wonder, did they buy Learnout and Houseby, which was Microsoft's speech-to-text platform? They might have. And although all those fishes got eaten, and now Microsoft's going to eat them all. Nuance is used by 55% of physicians, 75% of radiologists. My friend is a radiologist. It works, Dragon, naturally speaking, for radiology, works very, very well. 77% of U.S. hospitals. Healthcare is a big part of that business. And it'll be, of course, tied in with Microsoft Cloud for healthcare.
And I think it is market acquisition, because Microsoft's technology in that area is very good.
Right.
Really good.
Right.
And so I think it's more about I think it's also a defensive move. Microsoft and Google are in the voice recognition are, miles in front of everybody else. And so I think that making sure that kind of breaks off all the last branches. You're going to have to develop it yourself. So there's some defensive moves, some market moves, and probably some extra technology that will benefit Microsoft.
Pulling up the ladder after Siri.
Yep.
Yeah. But largely getting access to the medical market. The Nuance is the gold standard when it comes to that kind of technology, where God bless them, earlier on they realized that, okay, it's kind of nice that we can sell this app with this little boom headset that let executives dictate letters and stuff, but actually the medical community has lots and lots of money for projects like this. If we are the only one that's actually paying attention to their needs to make sure that we can actually process all the 18-syllable drug words that they have to use every single day, we will basically we will absolutely run the table. So it's not just having this technology, it's also having this entry into the medical market for Microsoft.
With a lot of really smart people that don't necessarily type really well.
Yeah, true.
Well, don't they all Dragon dictate?
Handwriting recognition, that's the, yeah.
How are you going to, I don't understand how you use this. Scan this QR code with your iPhone, and you can see what it's like to run a Samsung. I'm going to try this now. Open itest.nz. It's a web app, and it's going to turn my iPhone into a Samsung device.
It's going to make Steve Jobs cry.
Yeah. I mean, really? Wow. So now I have to, I'm on the page. I'm going to add it to my home screen. Samsung iTest. And now, get ready, stand back. My iPhone, oh no, I really want it to happen.
It's more like I test at this point.
Oh my God, that's creepy. I've turned my iPhone into a Samsung device.
So somehow I think Samsung thinks that would have iPhone users want to use their product more.
Okay, compare this to this.
It's like Drag Race, only for handsets.
At least it's not TouchWiz.
It's not TouchWiz?
No, what do they call it now? It says
does everything looks like everything works. The phone. Maybe this is the solution for getting my text messages. Maybe
on Android.
Look, I can even use the camera. Some picture of some guy who's not even here. That's really cool. Why would I want this guy's pictures? I guess this is just a test. I hope
it's a demo.
Yeah.
I hope this is only a test.
You can feel like a carrier store.
You're right. I have a feeling this is not going to have the effect that Samsung is hoping
it means
for.
what you think it means.
Well, it really is interesting though. If you're dealing with people who have never used Android before, and maybe they've grown up inside only walking through the iPhone habit trails, and they're thinking, oh well, Android is nothing like the iPhone, and it's just and it's hard to use, and it's like, well, actually, no, it's almost exactly the same way. It works almost exactly like the iPhone does, just a different accent on things. And I would love to see them kind of go further with this. I would love to see this actually being applied to everywhere, saying I don't want to emulate Windows, but give me an environment where I can at least play and see what Windows is actually like by downloading, or by maximizing a web browser window as opposed to having to install something. And maybe I'll realize that, oh, actually that doesn't stink at all.
Apparently I have new friends, a guy named Sam and a generic friend won.
I just hope that they would lead into more compelling stuff.
I know I look stupid. I know it's a website, but it's a really kind of well-done website that makes it kind of look like you're using a Samsung phone. So, but it is just
I just wish that they would, like, they lent into a lot of really mundane sort of things there, which is maybe the fairest way of doing it. But I would have like found every little thing that makes us beat iPhone and made that my web demo. Like just shock and awe you when you load it up, saying, "I want that." Like just wow me. And it's kind of pedestrian. Was my only quibble with it.
Yeah, it's interesting though. I mean, it kind of gives you that. It's such a weird thing to see this on my iPhone. That's because I have Samsung phones. I mean, I recognize that interface, which I immediately get rid of, by the way, as soon as I can. On a Samsung phone, I use a different launcher. So it's not. I don't think it's a progressive web app. I think it's just a website because it's not. It's actually not doing anything. The camera doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
The messages don't really do anything. So somebody's kids are on here.
So essentially, it's about as functional as the iPhones that Steve Jobs demonstrated when they did the first live demo in January.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
It only does a few things. Yeah. Most of it is static text.
Yeah.
And it'll crash if you go the wrong way.
It's pretty funny. This my generic friend sent me a GIF.
It's nice to be able to simulate being one of those people who have friends who like text them with funny memes and stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Oh look, I'm out for a walk outside on a lakeside bridge with someone who seems to have his life together. Wouldn't that be nice?
HomePod's still available if you want to quick snap one up. It is discontinued, but apparently, according to 9 to 5 Mac, you can still go to the store. The white HomePod is still being sold everywhere in the U.S. Honestly, this might explain why they discontinued it. Because even after they discontinued it, they still have plenty of stock.
The Space Gray one went fast, but a lot of nerds panicked and said, "I'll never get my stereo pair." And so they ran out.
Oh, yeah, because they already bought the Space Gray, so they have to get the second one. Yeah, that makes sense. And a couple of people tweeted that the HomePod that they had purchased is from the original launch stock. So it kind of implies that after 3 years, Apple didn't even have to make any new ones.
They were very optimistic.
Yeah. Yikes. It was the price, right? Because I bet you the Mini is selling like hotcakes.
It was the price, and it was Siri. I think Siri wasn't competitive with the other assistants, and the price wasn't competitive with the other speakers. And both those things made it tenuously bad.
All right.
Apple can win on experience, but they didn't play the experience game on this one. It was just a sound game.
No, they played the sound game, and you remember that briefing they gave you? I mean, there was like, we've put more energy into figuring out how sound works, and this thing is amazing. And I guess it didn't convince anybody. I guess
they brought a $700. Well, not $700. They brought a $500 speaker to a $50 home assistant.
Right.
Flight.
It's more a comment, frankly, on our bad ears than it is on Apple's bad choices. Let's get ready for the picks of the week, shall we? Got some good ones this week, I think. Our picks of the week. Let's kick it off. I'm going to start at the high end. Alex Lindsay, you can kick it off.
Mine's not that expensive.
I know. I always tease you.
So wait.
I can that as I continue to play with LiDAR on the phone, because as you know, I think that AR.
I heard it's the next big thing. Yeah.
Anyway, so I've been playing with Polycam, and I think so. I've been talking to a lot of folks about it. One of my close friends, Fred Fikert, is in AEC, really dealing with engineering, architecture, construction, and he recommended I really take a look at this, and I started playing with it, and it's unbelievable. So Polycam is basically, there's something about it that's really interesting, is that you start waving it around. And I was up in Goat Rock and Bodega Bay. It's kind of my little test area for a lot of this stuff. And I just started going along a cliff face, and it just, of course, it shows you what you're grabbing and what you're not grabbing. So it keeps on building the model live while you're doing it. And it, looks great. It just kind of builds
it shows
it all
them as the polygons, right? That the
you can see how as those polygons are, it just paints them. So it's just showing you how it appears. So it makes it really easy to capture it. I was really amazed by how well it was tracking with it. But what's really interesting is that we're starting to see what I think is going to be the beginning of the next generation of this, which is that when you hit save, it shows you your camera path and all the little representation of little camera positions. Now, the reason that that's important is that I believe that it means that they are getting ready to incorporate a mixture of photogrammetry with LiDAR. That's really where things start to get really interesting, because what happens is that if you're able to mix those two together, you get the accuracy of LiDAR with the detail of photogrammetry, and you're going to be able to get incredible detail out of the out of these images, because the imagery coming to the phone is a lot denser than the LiDAR itself. And so being able to figure that out, I have found that doesn't work as well in an office where there's shiny things and really flat things. But if you take it out and do things that are more organic or outdoor, it grabs onto things amazingly well. Anyway,
wow, look at this. So I did it. Obviously, I didn't do it very well. And then you press process, and it gives you a 3D model. Obviously, not the best, most detailed model. If I'd held it longer to give it more polygons, would it have done a better job?
Yeah. You have to kind of follow it along. But you can also, you can export this as a UDZ, for instance.
Right.
And then you could text it. I could text it to you or text it to me, and literally it'll pop up in front of you to scale. It's kind of an amazing thing. And so,
and I was moving the camera. Is that a bad idea? Or?
No, you have to. You have to.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll move it around, but
move it around, and it's going to build the model as I continue to move it.
Yeah, you'll see it. You'll see it kind of painting the data in there.
Yeah.
But it's not that expensive. It's got a lot of export options, which is really important to me. So you're able to, if you get the Pro version, which is like, I don't know, it's like $40 a year or something like that. So, or $8 a month or something. So it's, it is,
it's kind of cool because you can see it building the model, which is really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see the polygons building up.
The word is that this is the one that, a lot of folks this is probably the most detailed one right now. So if you want to dig into it, $8 for a month, and you can play with it. You can play with it for free. So there's a lot of the little things you can play with now. You don't need to get the Pro version. So that's the cool thing. You can download it for free. If you decide you want to play with it a month, you can. The best thing to do is you sign up for a month with all of these things now. I sign up for a month, and then I go up and cancel the next day. I will set a little thing in. And then I can decide whether I'm going to keep going, but I don't leave it. Otherwise, you end up paying for a lot of things.
The payment gives you a Polycam account, and you can share and see what other people are doing and all that stuff. But you can get all the experience as I'm doing right now for free.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can get it now. You can play with it for free and see what it does. And I would highly recommend keeping. There's a future that's going to be pretty exciting when this stuff really starts to mature, and it's maturing quickly.
You can also watch it. I did a much bigger one this time, and I'm actually watching it process it, so it actually works through it. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah.
It's fun.
So now I'd have a 3D model of the set. I could print it, put it on my table, and Inception. Polycam. Obviously, you have to have one of the iPhones or iPads with a LiDAR on it.
iPhone 12 only.
Wouldn't be much fun. Otherwise.
Well, I was looking for an excuse to buy a new iPad next week. I guess I have one.
You got one, Andy Anako, pick of the week.
There are times when you keep going back and forth and you can't justify a certain expense, but then you've just realized that how many times have I said, I can't justify this expense. This is just a toy, just an amusement. And I can say, well, okay, how about for every 10 of those that you say no to, you say yes to one. And so, ladies and gentlemen,
it's a Lego project.
The Lego Space Shuttle Discovery, 2,000 pieces. It was just released like last week. I can't even get the whole box in the frame.
Oh my golly! I got the box right here. Wow.
Yeah, and this is like exactly what I was hoping for when it came to.
Do you also get the Hubble? Is Hubble Space Telescope included?
Oh yes. You get.
Wait a minute! You get the arm. You can actually deploy the Hubble Space Telescope.
You can
in your living room.
There's so much. This is so well thought out. That's because, cool. as a matter of fact, not only that, but they did something smart. So this is the instruction book. This is the assembly manual. But this is how much they love with you as a consumer, and they understand like how your brain works. Okay, like the first, they put like everything for the Hubble like in different bags. They're totally separate from the space shuttle. So if you just want to like, I want to start off light. I'm going to start off with the Hubble. But as you can see, there's so many different ways you can set these things up. They give you separate stands so that you can have the shuttle and the Hubble like on different display stands with different like placards on them. You can have the Hubble on the end of the Canadarm. Like it's being put into orbit. You can have it like all folded up in the cargo bay, and the doors open, the doors close. The air brake on the back of the shuttle like actually opens and deploys. You can pop off the top and actually look at both decks of the crew compartments. I have been sort of like this is my sort of this is my prize for having passed on the whatever that ultimate Millennium Falcon kit was.
Oh, we had that, yeah.
Because that was like $500, and I'm like, I can't spend $500 on a Lego kit. So this was like this was only $200. Yeah. But the thing is, it's
not the dollars, it's the hours.
It's not the dollars, the hours, but also,
I'm hoping you're going to time lapse it. That's all I'm saying.
Time lapse.
No. Look how cool like the contours of this thing are. Like this is not, they didn't cheat by they didn't disappoint you by making this is sort of like a low poly version of the space shuttle, but neither did they say we came up with 180 different custom new Lego parts so that it looks like it still looks and feels like Lego. But I'll tell you the other thing that sealed the deal, that I got my first Pfizer shot last week.
Yay.
So I'm going to be fully vaccinated by the end of the month. Most of my friends in New England are probably going to be in the same boat. So I'm like, I did open this up so I could like show it to you. But I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to start building it myself. I'm going to like invite like 6 friends over, and we're going to knock this all out in one night.
That's a good idea.
This is going to be my reintroduction to like friends, enjoying food together.
I stopped buying these big Lego models when we lost Jeff Needles, who was he an intern or an employee? I can't remember, but he was the only guy willing. This is the Death Star being assembled.
Yeah.
And a time lapse we did over, I don't know, his shirt changes several times, so it must be several.
Look, they did animations of the little Lego figures too. The little Lego guys.
Yeah, that's good. That's cute.
That's the only way they could have made this better. It isn't the right scale for minifigs. So you can't act. And I didn't know this, so I actually bought like Star Wars minifigs so I could have like the Star Wars crew like crewing the space shuttle.
You can't?
But no, well, the thing would have been like 10 meters long if they had made it the correct scale for minifigures. But it's still like a big hungadung. It's like it really is about like this big when it's actually fully built. So this is gonna have point of pride somewhere on my in my living room.
Time lapse. You could probably do a better job. What would your frame rate be? Ours feels like it's a little jerky. What frame rate? This is another one. This is another Star Wars thing. He's building.
How long do you think it would take you to build it?
I'm guessing 3 or 4 nights of like 3 or 4 hour sessions. I haven't done many big Lego kits. As a matter of fact, they gave you, because it was if you buy it from Lego.com, like they give you, because it's like now $200, you get like a couple of free kits with it. And so I'm going to be using this like as my trainer.
This free like little. That's good. Start with the 8+ version. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
That I'm going to work my way up to it and like get the calluses on my fingertips. But and you're right, that will give me like an idea of like how long it's going to take me to put together the 2,354 pieces. And with decals, they give you these metal foil decals for the solar panels on the Hubble, as well as the heat reflective material on the inside of the shuttle bay. So yeah, it's going to be a thing. It's going to be a hootenanny, friends.
Jeff Needles built that in 2013. Anthony Nielsen, of course, shooting and editing, and you can see how low res those cameras were we were using.
I mean, the way I would do it is probably 2 or 3. GoPros at 4K video, because you can then frame blend them to get motion blur.
Oh,
it looks really cool.
Okay, so we need. I have one GoPro. We need 3 more.
I have. I'll send them to Andy.
So basically, I'm gonna turn up on office hours sometime this week. We'll discuss like the best way to do this.
Yes, how to shoot your Lego build. That would be a good office hours.
Well, here's what the thing is that what I was looking at, I was like, wow, we could do a whole bunch of, a whole bunch of us buy it. We all just do it over Zoom.
Anyway. Oh, my. Renee Ritchie.
Sorry, children of people who do office hours. That's another 4 weeks you're not going to be seeing your mom or your dad.
Exactly.
Couldn't be helped.
Exactly.
All I got to say is put it somewhere where children and earthquakes can't get to it, because I think both the Death Star and the battle cruiser were later dismantled by small children. They took a hit, but lots of good pieces. Renee Ritchie, your pick of the week.
So I did this just so I can hand off very quickly to Alex Lindsay to explain the true ramifications of it. But today, as part of their ongoing announcement series, Maxon announced Redshift has come to the Mac. It's coming to the Intel Mac right now. And when Apple puts out, I think it's the 11.3 update, it'll be coming to the M1 Macs as well. Basically, they've taken Redshift and they've rewritten it for Metal. So it's going right on the Intel Mac because Metal doesn't care about your silicon. It has a job to be done and it's going to do it. And then as soon as the update's out that brings the features they need to the M1 version as well, it'll be good to go there. And for them, I had a chance to sit down and talk to the CEO of Maxim and to some of the people using Redshift. I'll have that video up fairly soon, but it was just exciting to hear, because a lot of times you just hear like people just want CUDA cores, they just want PCs, and they were saying they see a big uptake in, like, people love Cinema 4D on the Mac. They really want to have Redshift because the idea of offloading to GPU rendering, just the size of the files that they have, it takes them down from hours and hours to minutes and minutes, and it makes such a difference in their pipeline. And the ability to grow this as Apple continues to grow out Metal and what they'll be able to do with Apple GPUs in the future, it just sounds really, really exciting. And their whole thing is we've gone to almost real-time editing, and they just want to get to a point where generating all this 3D rendering is closer and closer to real-time.
Boy, that really says something about the GPUs in the M1 if they can get a speed bump like that. That's really interesting.
I mean, the thing that Maxon's been good at for a long, long time is really getting the most out of the hardware, and the other thing is, really German engineering, you end up with things that are solid. So when they start releasing things for it, they don't go, oh, we ported it over and I think it'll work okay. Yeah. It's going to really work. And Redshift is one of the top renderers out there. And so Maxon acquired it a couple years ago. And so the mixture of this is pretty exciting. I think that being able to do it on the Mac Mini is a good start. What's going to be exciting is watching it, as Renee said, grow into the Mac Pro and into the other things that are going out.
A benchmark for future M1 chips or Apple Silicon chips, how much faster is it? That's really interesting. I think that's going to be...
It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be very... Well, it'll be telling.
And they also acquired Forager, which is super exciting too, and that lets you use the Apple Pencil and the iPad Pro to sculpt 3D models, and they're all in on Apple's ecosystem where you can move between devices. And the idea of sculpting something with your Apple Pencil, moving it over to Cinema 4D, or putting it into Redshift, I think made them really excited just to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, Alex, is that a fairly popular tool for? Is it?
It's not in the high end area. A lot of people are still using ZBrush and a couple other things, but Forger has been around for a long time on the iPad, and so I think taking that technology and incorporating it into what Maxon does, I think they're going to be able to keep on expanding what it does with mixing what Maxon has with what Forger has. I think is going to be really, really interesting, and it's going to probably. A lot of people are going to probably use it. It's going to be a great. It's really, really a great mix of tech there. So I think it's going to be exciting, and it's a really fun way to model. Whether it's Forger, which I've had pretty much since they released it, as well as ZBrush, those kinds of modeling techniques are really exciting. And again, it'll be interesting to see how quickly that stuff starts to hit AR. I know that I keep on talking about that, but it's going to be like being able to model something right in front of you is going to be really interesting. It'll be much more organic. So getting into that technology and making sure that they understand how that works is also useful.
I can't wait for Mac Break Weekly 2025 when you get to say, I told you so. See? See?
He'll be in AR. He'll be sitting next to you in AR telling you that, Leo. You'll
See?
No, it'll be his avatar because he's got 6 shows going at the same time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
My pick of the week, very quickly, FCC has released its first app for the iPhone. It's a broadband test app, and it's free. And they're collecting information. It's more than just finding out how fast your mobile internet is. They're collecting this information because, and I think this is a very important part of the FCC's mandate. They really want to improve bandwidth all across the country. So when you first set it up, they say we don't want to overload your mobile data. So you can choose what the limit is. I'm just going to say it's unlimited because I have unlimited data, and I'm going to allow mobile data use. You can test. I'm actually on Wi-Fi, but you can test upload, download, latency, jitter, and packet loss. Those are, by the way, important. Oh, I don't seem to be able to tap those, but those are really important for Skype and other things. So it's a very good thing to be able to test that. Now, of course, I'm on a fast Wi-Fi right now, so I don't think this is going to be a good test of my mobile carrier. But the information gets uploaded to the FCC, where they're now keeping track of bandwidth access all over the country. I think that's important.
Before you test it, before you test your bandwidth,
yes,
I highly recommend calling your provider and asking for their retention manager.
When you find out, what you're saying is when you find out how crappy it is.
Well, no, the thing is that so I had with Comcast, we had 275 down and 10 up, and I just was like, I need to find a better solution. This isn't going to work.
Yeah.
So my wife called, and now we have 1 gig down and 35 up, and it cost $30 less than it did before.
I was kind of stunned. I didn't even know they had gigabit service in Petaluma.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And when I put in the Ubiquity stuff, the installer said, "Oh yeah, you can get gigabit." I said, "What?" And I said, "Would you call? Because I don't want to talk to those guys." And so we have gigabit, and it's very good. We have 10 gigabit here on SonicNet. I'm not getting quite that on my iPhone, but 268 down and 178 up.
I did.
Not bad.
I did reach out to Sonic. It was. I was trying to figure out. It's too expensive to come to where I am at.
Yeah,
Sonic
they'd have
isn't
to-
going to be
they'd
here
have to
anytime soon.
trench.
But
Yeah.
I did was trying to get Sonic first and just didn't.
0 packet loss, 15.2 millisecond jitter, 24.5 millisecond latency. That's kind of bad. But now if I really wanted to test mobile, I could turn off the Wi-Fi and see the mobile as well, which is, I bet you, pretty good because I think I now am getting T-Mobile 5G in our studios, which we did not have before. So FCC speed test iOS and Android, and it will actually upload the information to the FCC because they're trying to keep an eye on how fast internet is, really, for reals. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now concluding this thrilling, gripping edition of Mac Break Weekly. Renee Ritchie, you didn't get a call during the show.
No.
Okay.
I'm relieved.
Good. But you may get a call anytime soon, and we will be back here next week to talk about what Apple announces. Renee Ritchie's video channel is youtube.com/Renee Ritchie. Anything you want to plug?
I should have a video up about the event soonish, and then I'll have a video up about Redshift on Mac, talking to some of the Maxon folks tomorrow.
Nice. I look forward to that.
Aces. They're good people.
Yeah. Mr. Andy Ihnatko, you're on WGBH in Boston when?
That's going to be Thursday at 12:30 in the afternoon on the East Coast. You can go to WGBHnews.org to stream it live or later.
How nice. And everybody must be in office hours because otherwise, why would he be doing it 24 hours a day? Go to youtube.com/Alex Lindsay, LINDSAY. What? Anything you want to plug at this point?
Just office hours just keeps getting better. So
it does.
Like every
Clearly.
week it's better than the last week.
Cooking
I don't
now.
quite understand how that works.
I
We're
can't wait.
cooking now together.
Saturday is
We're doing
cooking?
that. Yeah, so we're doing it on YouTube with Matt in the Kitchen. So it's Madeline Smithberg. She used to be the producer for the the Daily Show with
Nice.
Jon Stewart, and so
Nice.
she's the host, and so she's cooking with a chef. We're making kimchi pancakes, and
Oh, that's weird.
anyway, so we're going to make them together, and there's going to be a whole bunch of us. It's going to be so you can.
I don't
if you
usually
jump
put
into
pickles
office
in my
hours-
pancakes, but okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you jump into office hours, you can. There's here's the crazy thing is there's 3 shows going on at the same time. So, because one show wasn't enough. So there's one show.
In other words, 24 hours in the day wasn't sufficient.
Yeah.
Let's make it 72 hours a day.
But yeah, exactly. So here's how it works. There's one show that has the chef and Madeline and a couple people that we know are pretty well set up for cooking. So that's one show that goes to YouTube. Then there's another show where everybody's cooking together. They just have a whole bunch of stuff open and they're all cooking. And Madeline's going to come in and say hi, and she'll come in at the beginning, and she'll come in a couple times during it and check in, see how everybody's doing. And then there's another show where we're showing the multi-view from my switcher, and you get to listen to comms. So you'll just hear me calling cameras and talking about things, and other people doing that. So all 3 shows are happening at the same time. So they're, so you can decide what kind of content you want to watch, and all of it will be interesting, I think. So anyway, and we're going to do it 8 weeks in a row. And the first one will be probably a little rough, but it'll get better over 8 weeks. We're kind of testing these formats right now. So
that's very nice.
It's a lot of fun.
Very, very nice. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Mac Break Weekly is a Tuesday morning production, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC. If you want to watch us live, you can at twit.tv/live. We had a little hiccup in the live stream in the middle, but we got it back. And the way I know that is because the chat room watches live at irc.twit.tv. So if you're watching live or listening live at twit.tv/live, chat with us live at irc.twit.tv. After the fact, we always make everything we do on demand. Download it at twit.tv. In this case, twit.tv/mbw if you want to go right to the show page. You can also see, though, a bunch of buttons: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts. You can subscribe, Spotify. There's also a YouTube channel. You just click that YouTube link and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. All of that at twit.tv/mbw. If you subscribe to Pocket Cast or Apple or Google Podcasts, you'll get it automatically every Tuesday. That's a very convenient feature. And by the way, it would be really nice if you left a review for us on those. Only 5 stars, please. Only 5-star reviews.
5 stars are better.
We're sorry that you can only give us 5 stars. That's what we're saying. But
we're good enough.
We've got to work within the system.
We're good enough for more, but since that's the limit, just give us 5.
Don't break any rules on our behalf. I know you want to.
Thank you all for being here. Again, next week we start early for the Apple stream at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And we'll be covering that. And then, of course, Mac Break Weekly immediately after, which I'm guessing is going to be about 11. They've been pretty tight on these filmed streams, videoed streams. Also, we're hoping to make a little bit of an announcement about the future of the network on Sunday, on the Sunday Twit. If all goes well, there have been little hiccups, but we're preparing something we think you'll like. So stay tuned for that, or tune in for that, and I'll talk about it next week as well on Mac Break Weekly. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you next time. Now it's time to get back to work. Mac Break is over.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you are interested in checking out all things smart home and Internet of Things, then you should check out Smart Tech Today, the podcast I, Micah Sargent, do with my co-host Matthew Casanelli. It's all about the smart home and improving your automations.